Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. And Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. And you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And I would love it if you could head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the video and ding the bell so that you'll know when my next videos are uploaded. So yeah, I'm a bit brain dead, so excuse me. My guest today is Will Kintish from the UK, and his business is Kintish Online Networking Skills, and we're going to be talking about developing online networking skills. And Will is a qualified chartered accountant and was in general practice for 30 years. At the start of the 21st century, he changed his career, and since then, he has shown thousands in the academic, professional, and financial communities how to become more effective and confident networkers. Networking is fundamental to one's success, yet so many people fear this activity. He shows you how to overcome all of your fears and concerns when working the room, how to spot lots of potential opportunities, and how to follow up in a professional manner. Welcome, Will, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Rose. All the way from Manchester in the UK at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Ah, yes, we just turned on 5 p.m. So yeah, it's still early for both of us. Oh, excuse me, I forgot to put my phone off. So tell me, what is a great skill to use to network online?
Very simple. Asking great questions, listening carefully for the answer, and if you spot an opportunity to help yourself and the other person, that's it. You have to be nosy. You have to be inquisitive to be a good networker. And it's as simple as that, Rose.
Oh, okay, so you don't need any special skills.
No, you have to be interested in the other person, and that is it. But you know what? My experience tells me that most people are not good at asking questions. And I don't know why. I'm the one 99 times out of 100 who tends to ask the first question. And you know what? It's often not just the first question, it's the second question, the third question, and the fourth question. And when I get to the third or fourth question, Rose, I think, this isn't a conversation, this is an interview. Well, networking isn't about interviewing, networking is about building relationships. And if I'm at a physical event, you'll remember those pre-COVID.
Yes.
When I was at a physical event, if I asked somebody 4 questions and I realized they were showing no interest in me whatsoever, I decided to move on. It's called dumping them. It was because they were rude. They were saying, I'm not interested in you at all. I just want to talk about myself. So asking questions is the #1 core skill.
Okay, so what if you're a bit of an introvert and a little bit shy? How does that work?
Yes, I'm asked this all the time. And I say to the introvert, you introverts often can make the best networkers because you don't want to talk about yourself. So take the focus off yourself and ask the other person questions. So I often say to that introvert, be genuinely interested. I don't know whether you were going to ever ask this question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. How did I leave accountancy to do what I'm doing now? It's because I went on a Dale Carnegie management course. Have you heard of Dale Carnegie?
Yes, I have. Yeah, he's very popular here.
Well, he was popular everywhere. He wrote the book, of course, How to Win Friends and Influence People. 1936, he wrote that book. And if you focus for a moment on that title, in my opinion, Rose, that was the first book on networking, because How to win friends and influence people is what networking is all about.
Certainly is, yes.
And that gave, I went on his management course, and then I was getting fed up with accountancy. So for a hobby, I started to train as a trainer with them in the evenings. And then my accountancy firm got taken over by a big national firm, and they realized I wasn't happy. And they said, Will, why don't you go and do your training full time? We'll take your clients away, give you a lump of money, and you can set up your own training company. But it was Dale Carnegie that got me out of accountancy to do what I'm doing now. And I tell you that because here's one of his many famous quotes, which goes back to your very first question about skills. The most interesting people we ever meet are those who are most interested in us.
Yes, it's called active listening.
It's active listening comes after an intelligent question, correct?
Yeah. But I guess moving, like body language has a lot to do with how you talk to somebody or how you receive a message from somebody. What if, as I said, a really shy person just stands there with their arms folded and, nodding in the right places, but don't ask any questions, but, they're still interested in what you have to say. How do you get around that?
If I've asked a load of questions and they don't ask me anything, and I realize that they don't, I've asked, one of the key questions I ask people is, do you know anyone here at the event tonight? If it's a physical event, I mean, really, we were going to talk about online networking, but you know what? Online and face-to-face networking is virtually the same. But answering your question, if somebody's body language, it depends. If they're nice, if they're a nice person, but they're a bit quiet, what I will do then is I will go and introduce them to somebody else, or I will say, hey, Rose, come on, let's go and meet some other people. And I'll go and look for a group of people and park them in that group and then stay there for a while and then move on. Because I'm not a charity, I've been really kind. But the worst body language is the following. Whether they're introvert or extrovert, if I see that they start looking round the room, then I realize they're saying to me in strong, non-verbal communication, they're saying, Will, I don't want to talk to you anymore. In which case, I will not go and introduce them to other people. I call it parking them. I will dump them. I will say, well, Rose, it's nice to have met you. Enjoy the event, and off I'll go. It's interesting that our conversation has moved on to the physical aspect of networking.
It has, yes. Yes, I guess, yes, it has. But you're online, okay, so if you're at an online event and you've got a screen full of, 50 people, and you're still, a little bit quiet, how can then, I guess, the facilitator draw that person out from themselves?
That's the only way you can do it. As far as I'm concerned, you can't have any decent interactive conversations with 50. So if the organizers do it properly, they'll put us all into breakout rooms of 4 or 5 people, and that makes it a bit easier. But even then, if I'm facilitating something, I won't say, I'm now going to put you into groups and discuss, I don't know, what have we got to do to get people to like us? What I will do is appoint a team captain and say, Rose, will you facilitate the discussion? John, will you facilitate the discussion? And you don't have to be an expert facilitator, because you, Rose, will ask the other 4 people in the room, what do we have to do to get people to like us? So breaking it into smaller groups has to be the only way to get serious conversation going.
Yeah, that I agree with that. It's quite difficult to network with a whole screen full of people when everyone's got their little bit they want to say, or they just staring at the thing on. And my pet hate is they turn the video off and you can only see their profile picture, so you have no idea even if they're there at all.
No.
So I think that's a little bit rude, unless it's an emergency and you have no other excuse, like you have to get up, go to the loo, or look after your child, or
That's right. The hardest I find, my marketplace generally is presenting to people in the professional, financial, technical and academic worlds, and some of them are professional introverts. I often wonder why they come on the course, probably because they've been told to. They're what I call training prisoners. They've been forced to come on the course. But often you're right. What they'll do, they'll go on to mute, they'll stop the video, and you don't know whether they're there or not. But if they're a client, you can't say, "Hey, you rude person, I want to be able to see you." You can't do that if you've got a paying client.
No, you can't. It's a bit hard, isn't it? But it's like I do online training, and it's really hard when they've got their video off. You have no idea if they're there, and it becomes a little bit disconcerting, especially when you're asking for comments and you're not getting any feedback from anyone. It's like,
correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it really is. I did my first face-to-face training last week. A digital marketing company in Manchester said, "Look, we know we're going back to physical networking. I've got a new team of younger people. Come and show us how to do it." So for 20 years, Rose, what I'm about to tell you is credit to my wife. She came up with this one, not me. For 20 years, Rose, I've been showing my audiences all over Europe how to work a room. And she said, "Hey, Will, you can't do that now COVID's arrived. You're now having to show them how to work the Zoom." and that's what I've been doing now for 15 months, apart from the physical one I did last week. Oh, and I tell you, it was a breath of fresh air to be able to see people in 3D rather than 2D. And it was an absolute delight. It really was.
Yeah. This pandemic has really hit everyone really hard, and we've had like instant lockdowns, and people have no warning, and next thing they're in lockdown, and it's lasts for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and some people are just getting so frustrated with it, but there's not much you can do.
What's happening in Tasmania at the moment?
Well, Tassie's good. We're not in lockdown because we're an island. We keep everybody out. So
very clever. Yeah,
but it's just on the mainland. It's becoming challenging.
I heard. Yeah, I heard.
Yeah. All right. So I guess online networking on a one-on-one thing. What's a good strategy to make someone feel comfortable when you first meet them online?
I've got to compliment you. You're asking some really good questions here. I've got to tell you. So never, ever start off with business questions, whether it's online or face-to-face. Always start with the small talk. It's the small talk that is the glue to building the relationship. So if you've never met them and you're not sure where they live, it's, "Oh, hi there, where are you based today?" I mean, for example, I'm looking at your background, and if I meet you, I would say, "Hey, Rose, tell me about that background. Who's that lady in the blue shirt there, and what's she holding up?" So again, it's back to being interested in them. Focus on them. Simple, whether you're online or offline, pretend you've got a torch and you're shining it on them. And that way, they're going to love you from the start.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah, because the conversation is never about me, or, if it's roles reversed, it's never about you. It's about the other person to whom you're communicating. So, you've got to make sure that you put them first always.
I have an acronym. Sometimes, whether it's physical or face-to-face, I'm very conscious that I'm talking too much sometimes, and I have flashing in front of me the acronym WAIT, WAIT. And what that stands for, Rose, is, which I'm saying to myself, why am I talking? So I'll get to that point and I'll think, Kintish, stop it. Why am I talking? And at that point, I'll say, Rose, enough about me. Tell me about your holiday. Tell me about what you do when you're not working. So I'll flip it over in an instant.
Yeah, I've had a lot of interviews where, and this is the whole point of the interviews. I don't like to ask a lot of questions. I just like the people that I'm interviewing to tell me, why they've come on, not why they've come on, but tell me about their stories, their anecdotes, their what they do in business, and so they can help another business. That's the whole point. It's supposed to be like a coffee chat. It's not supposed to be like a Q&A. And I love interviews like that because it makes my guests feel comfortable because, they're not under pressure to having to think of an answer for something. That's why I don't ever send out preordained questions, because I just think, well, I liked the interviews to lead where they go. And I have no expectations. So I love the way I do my interviews and a lot of other people are very happy with that as well, because there's no expectation on them either. So sometimes we go off topic, but it ends up being a really great interview. Like we did earlier, we went off topic. So yeah, and it was interesting.
You asked the question at the beginning, what's the skill you need? Let me give you something else. You have heard, of course, of the very famous actor Woody Allen. And Woody Allen came out with this quote, 80% of success is just turning up. And what I'm saying to people is, the theme of my talk today, whether it's a talk or training, is when you want to be successful, if you want to be successful, there are two things you have to do. Number one, be visible. And number two, be proactive. And going back to the online discussion, because we can't be visible face-to-face, we have to be visible online. So what are you doing about that? When you're in the advice-giving business, which most of my clients are, because most of my clients are not people who sell things. The only thing they sell is their time for money, which is what I do, which is what most trainers, consultants, coaches, accountants, lawyers, engineers, and so on. That's what we do. We exchange time for money. I say to them, there's only two ways to get business. One is to be proactive and one is to be reactive. Now, it's lovely to be reactive and just sit there like the baby chick in the nest with your mouth open going, feed me. And, unless business is booming or you're very lucky, it's not a great sales strategy to hope that the business will turn up. So you've got to get off your bum and go out and get it. And when I say get off your bum, you physically don't have to get off your bum because we're all in lockdown. And the strongest advice I'm giving to people in the last few months is don't go looking for new connections through your networking. Reinforce, re-energize, and reignite past connections. So you've got 452 level 1 connections on LinkedIn. By the way, I've just sent you an invitation on LinkedIn.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I thought we're going to meet each other. So let's connect. So my advice is go back through some of those old connections and just get in touch with them. And then do something a bit old-fashioned. You ready for this, listeners? Pick up the phone. Talk to them. My mantra, Rose, is talk more, type less.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes.
And people don't. They hide behind They hide behind the I never remember
The keyboard.
the word. That's the word. I always forget the word keyboard.
Keyboard warriors, yes.
I say to them, but if you know them, don't pick up the phone to somebody you've never met. Just get in touch with people you've been in touch, even where perhaps you've sent proposals to people and they've not taken you up. Things have changed so dramatically that they might have said no then and they might say yes now. So going back to old connections is very important. If you do want to build new connections, this is the way to do it using LinkedIn. You look at your level 1 connections of people you know and see who they know. So if I look at your connections and you know somebody, I don't know, head of learning and development of a law firm, which is my bullseye target, I'll say, Rose, I see you connected to Mary Smith. How well do you know her? You'll say, well, actually, she's my sister-in-law. She's my next door neighbor. I'll then say, please, can you help me? If you were me, learn that phrase, everyone. If you were me, what's the best way to approach Mary Smith? And I would expect you to make the warm introduction for me rather than me go cold to Mary Smith.
Yeah, I've done that through my interviews with on this podcast. I've actually introduced people to each other and they've ended up being, really good connections and being able to help each other out. So it's been worthwhile, because I'll say, oh, well, I know someone that could help you, or I know someone that you could help. It's in the same area, and why don't I hook you up together? And I've done that a few times. So yeah, and it's quite a pleasure.
Right, well, let's move on to that. What you've illustrated is the first principle of networking. And you know what we've done, Rose? This is a bit back to front. But most of my interviewers say, well, tell me about what networking is. Well, we never got to that. But let me tell you, networking is something you, me, and everybody in the world do from about the age of 2. Networking is just talking to people with a view to building relationships, whether it's a social relationship or whether it's a business relationship. We network every day of our lives. Unless we're at home talking to no one, we network. So you and I are networking now. So when I joke with people and say, I'm a bit of a con man, really, because I've been teaching people how to talk to each other for the last 20 odd years, because that's all networking is. It's just the word networking that scares the living daylights out of people. But in my training and presentation, when I explain to them, it's just talking to people. So, for example, let's go back to the introvert. The greatest advice I give to people, going back to the physical aspect, is if you're going to an event, get there early. Get there early. I hate walking in, I'm the world's greatest networker, but I'm scared stiff walking into a room that's already matured, and perhaps if I go to an event not knowing anybody, I don't want to walk in there seeing all those groups chatting away. Whereas when you get there early, there's 1 or 2 other early ones, and you get chatting to them. And if they know people, they'll introduce you. So again, this is about being proactive and being visible. But the first principle of networking, Rose, and you've already intimated about it when you said putting Jack in touch with Jill, the first principle of networking is to be kind, is to be generous, and is to share. That is the number 1 principle. And I think I heard you say, and it makes me feel good.
It does.
That's what you said. And do you know why? There is a chemical in our brain called dopamine. Have you heard of dopamine?
Oh, I'm a dopamine person. I'm a dopamine junkie.
Right. And that's why you're happy to help people. So people who don't know what dopamine is, it's a chemical in our brain. It's called the pleasure chemical. It's created when we feel good. So here's some crazy irony. If I ask you for help, I'm sort of doing you a favor, because if you can help me and you're able to, I'm going to make you feel good, because you're going to say, oh yes, well, I can introduce you to Mary Smith, and that makes you feel good. So I have no hesitation about asking other people to help me, because I do a lot of helping. I do a lot of pro bono work, and I have no hesitation saying, hey, Rose, I see you know so-and-so. Can you introduce me? And if you can, you will. We've talked about the basics of networking, building relationships. There are 3 key steps to building relationships. You may or may not have heard of these before. Know, like, and trust. You've heard
Absolutely.
it, of course. And you know what the most important word in that is like, because at the end of the day, when people don't like us, they don't want to have anything to do with us, they don't want to help us, they won't do business with us, because I haven't met a person on this in my years who hasn't got competition. And at the end of the day, if the prospect likes you better than they like the other person, they'll do, and the price is similar, they'll do business with the people they like. You've heard this awful cliche, people buy people. And it's true, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And this is the irony about networking. Networking in the early stages of relationship is nothing to do with business. It's to do with, do I like that person? Do I feel comfortable in their presence? You can't create need. So a lot of inexperienced networkers will go to events online or face-to-face and go into sales mode. And that has to be the worst way of networking. In fact, what you're doing, of course, is you're destroying a relationship before it even starts.
Absolutely.
So, but you know, to be fair, if they're inexperienced, they think, oh, networking, I've got to come away with an order. Well, you know, and I know that is not the way to do it. What I say to people is, you go to a networking event simply to create a platform for doing business next week, next month, or next year, not at the event.
Absolutely.
Simple as that.
All right. Well, tell me a little bit about your book, Business Networking, The Survival Guide.
Well, it's all my writings are all based on a process. It's an 8-step process. Let me try and remember it. The first step is accepting the invitation. The second step is meeting people. The third step is building relationships, the know, like, and trust. The fourth step is asking questions. If we ask good questions, we might spot a need. And when I say a need for me and a need for you. If there is a need, we get to step 6. It's called the aha moment. Although, excuse me a sec, I'm just going to cough. It's called the aha moment, or the light bulb moment. Every conversation I have, Rose, I'm looking for a light bulb moment, either to benefit me or benefit you. So if somebody says to me, or even you, because we're both looking for business, do you know, that's very interesting, Will, very interesting, Rose. I might be interested in talking to you further about that. That is an aha moment. And that takes us to step number 7, which is what a lot of people don't do. They don't follow up. That is the worst crime in networking. I'm at events and I'm in a conversation and I hear one person say, I'm interested in that. And the other person doesn't react. And I'm sort of kicking them and saying, ask for their business card, ask for their business card, ask for permission to call them next week or tomorrow. Because we then get to step 8, and step 8 is meeting the prospect. And so it goes from the invitation all the way through to meeting the prospect. And even at that point, Rose, we do not need to sell. So if I meet you at an event and you've said to me, Will, I'd be interested in talking to you further about that because I need to learn to network better, my aha moment. When I get on the phone to you a few days later, I'll say, hi, Rose, it was a nice event we went to last week at the Tasmanian Chamber of Commerce, wasn't it? Did you enjoy it? Bit of small talk. And then I'll say, do you remember last week, Rose, you said you needed to become a better networker, or you've got a team of people who need to be better networkers. I'm simply phoning today to find out a little bit more about that. And if you think it's relevant, let's get together. And even when we get together, all I'm going to do is say, tell me what you're looking to achieve. There's no selling involved. You don't have to sell. It's back to your very first question. All you're going to do is ask questions and say, well, I can run you a 3-hour workshop and the cost will be X. And that's the other thing. The closing question, people don't ask it. Are we going to do business, Rose? Can we do business? Can we set up a date for the training? Are you ready for this one? We don't like hearing no, but no is the second best answer after yes. So when I send, and I bet like you send proposals to people and they go quiet on you, you get that radio silence. So here is some more advice. How do we ensure that we follow up in a professional manner without annoying people? Well, it's very simple. All the way through the process, we ask permission. Is it okay if I contact you again in a couple of weeks? And if we get radio silence a couple more times, when I get to the third follow-up, I'll say, Rose, I'm beginning to think I could be annoying you. Please give me guidance. Do you want me to keep following you up anymore? If not, I will take you out of my follow-up folder and I won't contact you further. So in that respect, you're following up to try and get a yes or a no, and we have a bit of certainty. But most people give up too soon. So that's the step 7 of following up. Always follow up to begin with a phone call and then revert back to the email. I mean, if I meet people who I've really built rapport with, I will send them a WhatsApp video because they've been ignoring me for a while, but I know that I built some rapport with them. I'll get on the video and I'll say, hey, Rose, come on, are we going to do business or not? And they can see me. And that way you often get a response. And if it's a no, fine, shrug, move on. It's not personal, but don't give up too soon. And is that a skill? Yes, I see it as a personal trait, personality trait, rather than a skill. The skill, I keep going back, is asking good questions.
Yeah, and that's the questions. Yeah.
There are 4 areas of questioning. One is the icebreaker question. In other words, never start off with business. Then we get to the business questions if it's a business event. And you ask people about their now. Then you ask them how they got into that. And then you ask them what plans they've got for the future. So everything I do in my training and presentations, there is a structure for it. The third area of questioning is the glue to the building of the relationship, and that is the small talk. So I always say to my audiences, if you're enjoying somebody's company, never miss this question. So when you're not working, what do you do in your spare time? Or if it's a Friday, where are you going for the weekend? If it's a Monday, what did you do at the weekend? And there's a key reason for that, and it's to do with family. Family is a fantastic topic, but it is fraught with danger. and it is can be fraught with embarrassment. So never, ever ask two key questions. Are you married? And do you have children? Because when you ask the wrong question on the wrong day, it can cause a lot of upset. But by asking people, what do you do in your spare time, or what are you doing at the weekend, they'll say, if they're married with kids, we're taking the kids to the beach. Or what am I doing? I'm seeing my friends. If you say to me, I'm seeing my friends, I won't say, have you got a partner? Because I'm waiting for you to volunteer that advice. So family is a fabulous topic, and that's the small talk. And the fourth area of questioning is the follow-up, which we've already done. Do you mind if I contact you further? So if we're back to the physical event, after you spotted the aha moment, I want you to get their business card. The most important thing about business cards is not you spraying yours all over the room, it's getting theirs. So after an aha moment, then I'm going to follow you up and say, Rose, shall we exchange cards? I've got your card in my hand. I'll say, remember a few minutes ago, you said you might need some help with networking, and you look them in the eye. It's back to the body language you asked me about early on. When you ask a very important question, watch where their eyes go. If they're not looking at you when they're answering, they're perhaps not telling you the full truth. So if I get your business card, I say, Rose, how do you feel about me giving you a call later in the week to continue this conversation? If you look at me and say, yeah, that'll be okay, Will, then I'll know that you're happy for me to call you. However, if I see you look away as you're saying, yeah, call me, your body language suggests that you're just being polite and you don't really want me to call you. And if your body language is a tiny bit off kilter, I'll say, look, if you'd rather I didn't, tell me, because I am a great expert at reading people's body language. If I feel as though you're just being polite, I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste my time. So again, body language is key. And you asked me about the skill, reading other people's body language, even on the Zoom, as well as the room. Watch them carefully through that screen.
Okay, well, we're almost out of time, Will. So can you tell me where people might find you?
Well, because I'm very, very visible, if you just type in Kintish, Kintish, into any browser. Oh, I found a new browser this week, Rose. Brave, Brave. Oh, it's so fast. I think it's quite new. It's a really, really good one. Kintish. And my website comes up there. Or I'm on LinkedIn, Will Kintish. But warning to you all, if you're going to invite me, always send a personal invitation. So listeners, if you're going to invite me, having listened to here, say, dear Will, I heard you on the Rose Davidson podcast. Shall we connect? Then I know who you are. You're not a stranger from planet Mars, because if you just send invitations without a personal message, I generally will just press the ignore button. Because do you know what, Rose? Do you know what, Rose? It's like going to an event, walking up to somebody, throwing your business card at them and walking off. It's exactly the same with these default LinkedIn invitation.
Yeah, it's a bit sleazy.
It's horrible. Even people I know. I mean, I wrote to you this morning, dear Rose, hope we're going to be meeting in 20 minutes. Shall we connect? And then you knew who I was. I mean, hopefully you would have remembered anyway, but
how could I forget you?
Well, that's been said many times as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that absolutely brilliant advice and information. It's been very helpful to a lot of people, I'm sure. And
I've enjoyed it, and you never know. Maybe one day I'll come to Tasmania, and I expect you to buy me a beer for coming all the way.
We have cold beer here. We don't drink warm beer.
Of course, yes. Not like in the UK, we have warm. Man, we are getting more civilized now. We are getting.
Oh, excellent. All right, thank you. And yeah, we'll
Thanks
talk
for
again
inviting
soon.
me.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Talking with the experts.